So it's going to be really hard for me to show you what's going on with this leg, but I just wanted to show you that the rest of her looked fine. I mean, floppy legs. Ignore that tattoo there. I mainly want to try to show you, and I had to darken it a little so you can see there's some spots of this that are orangey, almost pink. Some are light, some are dark. You may or may not be able to see it. You're just going to have to trust me. I know you can see things like this pink mark, but the legs were just so weird. Like there was no way that I was going to be able to do anything about it. Okay, so now about the pride tattoo there. The reason it's there is because my solution was I can't, this isn't a stain for me to remove. This discoloration in her leg, it's like a defect. Like think, Orange Nelly or Orange Laney. You can't fix that. You can just send it in to be replaced. But I don't even like Felicity, so why would I want to spend money? Plus, this wasn't a doll I planned on acquiring. The whole point of her is that she remains free. I was thinking if I could restore her, I would just donate her or do a doll giveaway. But I took one look at the leg and went, that's not something I can restore. The only solution is to send her into the doll hospital, and I'm not interested in that. So, well, poop. And then it occurred to me, what if I could just cover it up? And I've been curious about doing temporary tattoos on dolls, so this is a good time to try it, right? So I left this pride one on here because it's just one that I happen to have around. And I thought, well, since I'm already doing, I'm playing around, let me leave a tattoo on there for a week or two and then see how easy it is to take off and does it leave any stains? Because I would like to know the answers to those questions for my other dolls and to know whether I would like to use temporary tattoos on them. Then I tried a magic eraser. I needed to go over the whole doll anyway with magic eraser. And as you can see, it does not come off. I started just gently and then I was like, no, let me scrub a bit. So then I thought, okay, well, if you thought I could just leave these on without sealing them, how hard is it going to be for them to get messed up? And now you can see, yeah, they will get scratched up. So magic eraser is not going to cut it. Next, I went to acetone. And instantly I could see that this was going to work. And I realized I don't want to be doing this the whole time with a tiny Q-tip. So I got something else with a little more surface area. And this is only sped up to 1.5. So it took about 45 seconds to get that whole thing off. And you will see that there was no residue left over, no staining. So that's good to know. I might do this in the future on some dolls, like specifically maybe for example for Pride, but I would keep them on just about a week or so just to be safe. So now that I knew the tattoos were an option, I had to set forth in my plan, and my plan involved going a bit darker, going very, very different. Forget Felicity. Forget the Felicity you knew. I've always thought that the only way I would like these bright electric green eyes is with dark hair. So she has very, just brown, middle range, kind of reddish brown eyebrows. And I happen to have a pair of vinyl eyebrows. I never like these on. I'm going to show them to you. She's going to look ridiculous. I just wanted to show them to you in case you've never used them. They are shiny. That's what I don't like about them. But I was hopeful that I would end up covering them up for the most part anyway. So then I just left those alone. Figured I can always take them off if I want to. If they end up looking stupid, I'll just take them off. But the next thing I knew I needed to do was restring her limbs because poor girl was floppy floppy. So I get out my weeding tool. And you don't have to use this. I just happen to have this. People who have Cricut or Silhouette machines will know what I'm talking about. But you can use anything that works for you. World's worst pair of scissors. I feel like every time I film, I'm telling you guys, I need to have better scissors on hand. And I always just end up grabbing the garbage scissors. All right, now you can watch me fumble. Not as badly as I did in the last video where I took a doll's neck string off, or zip tie off. But sometimes they are just stuck on the folded edges of the fabric. My goodness. Don't worry, the painfulness of watching this will be balanced out because I'm going to do some hyperlapse soon enough of other processes. It's a mix of regular speed, slightly sped up, and crazy sped up. So here we go. Hyperspeed. Nobody needs to watch this in real time. All right. For those of you who have asked for restringing tutorials from me, here you go. But I wanted to point out, this is kind of odd, that it has 2 crimp sleeves. So those little metal things, I know them as crimp sleeves. If you know them as something else, you can drop that in the comments. But it has 2 of them. I see no function for that whatsoever. I don't know why that is, but it doesn't hurt anything. Get this out of the way. I think that this was after factory stuffing because look at all that residue. I think this was just like regular polyfill that people buy to make pillows and stuff or stuffed animals. I don't think it's factory. Okay, these are better scissors. So if you're paying attention, you just pull slightly so that you can cut the elastic between the crimp sleeves and the, oh, what are these called? It's not a coupler. Anyway, the little cups. And I wanted to try to show you, if you've never done this at all, they have the same thing on the inside. So there's another cup on the inside and the rest of the elastic is in there. There you go. You can see it pretty well there. They do slide down, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get it out soon enough anyway. And last one that needs cut. All right, so there's the torso. Got all our limbs. And those need to be heated up so that we can get this piece out of the limbs. You don't have to stick your limbs, that's things you only say in the doll world. You don't have to stick your limbs in a plastic bag. I just like to do it because it keeps them from getting full of water, and then I don't have to wait any extra time for things to dry. I'm pretty mindful about not getting everything wet because I don't want mold. I don't want mildew or mold or anything like that. So if I get water in them, then I'm just going to wait an extra step. And I am not the most patient person on the planet. So I put a tea kettle on, put these in boiling water, and then I do kind of hold the bag just so that I make sure that the opening of each limb is actually what's in the water. Get some pliers, reach in, grab it out. It's nice and squishy, so this was really easy to do. And I tried to work quickly. I know it's sped up just a little bit here, but oh no, this is at regular speed. I was just quick because I was kind of hoping, again, my patience, that I could get the new elastic out and get them popped in before all the vinyl cooled down. Now, I want to point out, see the difference in thickness in my elastic and the factory elastic? I am not promoting my elastic as your solution. I want to point out that I had this elastic on hand and I'm going to use it because I don't want to be wasteful and it's a giant roll. So what I've done for the past several dolls is triple it to equal the same thickness. If you just are buying elastic, buy the right size elastic to begin with, but I didn't, and I didn't want to be wasteful. And then sliding the crimper sleeves on here is easy enough. This part is very hard. I don't have the strength for it. So what I do is I'm just showing you, it should be squeezed, but I actually took it off camera. I go down on the floor and basically put my whole weight on the handle of the pliers to make sure that I fully shut that crimp sleeve. Otherwise, the elastic's going to pull right through it. I discovered this on a doll that I thought, how did that elastic wear out so quickly? And then I realized there was one crimp sleeve where I didn't tighten it enough. And so it had slowly worked its way loose. Anyway, that's what it looks like after it's done. I didn't have to reheat the limbs. So proud of myself. Look at me, Vanna Whiting it over there. Clean up your mess as you go, just as with cooking. Clean up the mess. And then now we need them to get reattached, right? So this part is a little bit trickier with my 3 strands because I now have to get them to go through these tiny holes, working in a smaller space. So I want to get 4 more crimp sleeves. By the way, you can get these on Amazon. I get them at Ace Hardware. They come in a pack of 100. The container, I didn't save the little insert, but the container that I buy says crimp sleeves. Should be able to get them at any hardware store. Sometimes they don't know what the heck I'm talking about, but just go in the hardware section and look around. You should be able to find them. Okay, so it's got to go in. I've got the limbs laid out where they go in, so I don't put anything on backwards or put the right arm on the wrong side. And then pulling them through that hole, easy peasy. But you got to hold on to this elastic because now you're starting to work with tension. What I should have done, and we'll see it in a second, is cut that loop so that I would have 3 individual strands. But I do this a lot, but not often enough to for it to be like a totally well-oiled machine. And I never do it trying to keep everything on camera. So you're just going to have to bear with me. It gets a little less fumbly after I realized, oh yeah, I should just cut these and that way I can put them through one at a time. Kitchen scissors. 3rd pair of scissors on in this video so far. Let's see how many pair of scissors I end up using. Again, if you buy the right size elastic, you're just going to be putting 1 piece of elastic through. This is effective. It works just as well. There's just no need. I'm not making an argument for using this kind of elastic. Just trying to show you that you can. Sometimes I try really hard to work with what I have so that I spend less and waste less. Okay, this is optional. If you're doing this by yourself, I find a hemostat could be really helpful. I got mine in a 2-pack, probably from Amazon, but I'm pulling as tight as I can get it. The other option is just to get 2 people involved, and that makes things easy, but I do this by myself a lot. And hemostats, if you're familiar, they're the things that hold the umbilical cord, but they clamp. So, look, I can still get it a little tighter. It just makes it where I can kind of move around and relax and not constantly be trying to hold on to everything at once. And I need more space. Move some things around. I decided I wanted to show you this process without taking it off camera and moving down to the floor. So this is actually set up on top of my stove. And I used that board, the black board for backgrounds. So I didn't want to dent it by putting all my weight. I went over and grabbed a chair. I'm standing on a chair, leaning all my weight down on this because I just don't have the strength for that. To make sure that I get a really, really nice tight clamp. And then I can take the hemostat off once I know that it's tight enough that the elastic's not going to slip through. And I kind of look it over, just make sure there aren't any spots that need to be tightened even more so that there's a really, like I said, very, very tight seal because you don't want them just working their way out. Even if it's just 1 piece, but especially because I'm using 3 smaller elastic strings, that's more important. Okay, now I know better, so I'm going to cut all of these. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think I show all 4 of these, or at least a couple more. Because I know that when I'm watching a tutorial, if you're just watching because you want to see the end result, you could probably skip ahead 30, 40 seconds. But if you are watching because you haven't restrung a doll or it didn't go well or you're looking for a different approach or something, then I want to show you this a couple times rather than just saying, yeah, you can go back and watch it later. You can slow it down later. I want it to be accessible the first time around. Can't overstate that probably the best thing for you to do is buy the right size elastic. And if you do restring your dolls, put what size and even brand in the comments. That will be really helpful because I know it's something people are going to ask me. And I don't know about you all, but sometimes the name of the things, the packaging falls off and I'm still using that same packaging a year and a half later and I don't know. People will ask me all the time, what brand do you use? I'm like, I don't know. I've been using the same neck strings for 2, 3, 4 years. All right, so limbs back on. Time to restuff. And we don't need to see this in real time. taking out stuffing or putting it in, not so exciting. Have a tool that you use to shove everything down in there and shove it regularly, put it in small amounts. This polyfill stuff was pretty like chunked together, and so I was pulling it apart just to make it not just to make it a little bit easier to manipulate, I guess is the best way to say it. I remember at some point feeling like, okay, I cannot get any more in here. That's it. That's no more is going in. But I got it all back in. You just keep shoving, just keep shoving. And then I decided it was time to re-wig her. And I have gone back in and put, I've muted like every video clip just because sometimes random stuff is going on in the background. But I, just so you could hear the satisfying rip, left the sound on the take removal of her wig. So this is not going to be a re-wig tutorial. I would say the restringing was detailed enough that you can use that as a tutorial. The re-wigging, this thing came off like butter. It was so easy. And if you've watched different re-wigging tutorials, some of them come right off and some don't. So just know that it's always a crapshoot. And also, I didn't show me putting on the wig. I didn't glue it down, so I didn't really feel like there was any need to. But yeah, we've done 2 steps. Next is the rewigging. So I just am holding it. I didn't heat up her head. I'm not using any chemicals. I'm not even using a spoon. I'm just checking. This is what I initially do. Check and see if there's a loose spot. And I felt like, okay, I got a loose spot. And often when that happens, you're kind of in luck. It'll work the whole way around. Look at that. Oh, this was so satisfying. And a couple of these random pieces were stuck on, and I wondered if those were going to be the pin curls, but it turned out they weren't. I always try to take these off delicately, even if I feel like not inclined to use the wig again, because you just never know. Like, I could make this wig curly, and it would be a completely unique wig. I could practice cutting it. I don't know. Isn't this weird? These little pieces that she was left. And even after pulling them off, I had, there were a few little hairs. You can sand them. You can put tape over this. If you're not going to make it, if you're not putting the wig on permanently, you can use painter's tape. You can sand them. In this case, I just singed them. So I just kind of burned a few of the hairs off with a lighter really quickly. Yeah, the wig still looked nice. And now I just need to reattach the head. And I mean, not that that's part of rewigging, but it needs to happen at some point, and I didn't make it a separate step. So yes, I'm putting the wig back on afterwards. But first, I want her head to be on here. And I've done this recently in a couple videos, I think. So this is not new. If you want to fast forward about 2 minutes or so, you can save yourself some time. But I have a small bobby pin. I find that that has been most successful. I've tried safety pins. They're more flimsy. I've tried long, like regular bobby pins, and it's just too hard to manipulate in this tight space. But I have found that the little miniature bobby pins work best for me. Other people use different kinds of tools. Use whatever works. And this seam is where I often get stuck. The seam on the shoulders, and sometimes just trying to get it out. Just like I did with the zip tie when I was having a hard time getting it out because it gets caught on the fold of the fabric there at the opening. Getting there. Just stuck on the end. Okay. So easy. That bobby pin has reattached the heads of so many dolls at this point. Again, the string, it's not, I don't have the brand. So if you have string that you like for restringing, it's a question I get asked frequently. So feel free to put your answers, your suggestions in the comments. One thing I want to say is I hate when like the filling is sticking out. So be really mindful that that doesn't happen. And since I'm going to be putting her right on the ground, I turned her head, trying to keep everything on screen. So this is not how I normally do it. I've said before, I usually push the doll into something or have my wife hold her head down. Whoa, neck gap. That's not going to work. I'm not shoving her head against the blackboard there. Oh, that's much better. Let me see if I can get it any better. If not, that's good enough. Now I do need to kind of put her head down a little bit. So I might turn it. And I plan on keeping her head on, so I'm doing 3 knots. There's no magic to that. I usually just do 2 if I'm planning on not keeping the doll's head on for a while. Like with those Our Generation posable bodies, I've just been doing 2 knots. Man, her limbs were so tight. So tight. Like way tighter than factory. I'm so pleased. All right, the fun part. It's tattoo time. If you go on Amazon and you look up tiny temporary tattoos, so many options come up, and they're all in the like $7 to $10 range for a whole bunch of these sheets. And you don't get to pick and choose, you just pick the collection that you like the most of. And so the ones I'm showing you right now, I've kind of already weeded through as I am unlikely to use them. For it's not, these are not the look I'm going for. Like, come on now. My immortal beloved, anyone? Um, yeah, we're not doing any roaring tigers or lions. That one is pretty, but it's too big. Those are cute, but I no. So here, this other side are the ones that I had picked through as possibilities. And I'm turning them at an angle just because the shiny plastic that's on there is going to be too much of a glare otherwise. But my idea was not to have like one giant leg piece. My idea was to have a couple big pieces and then just kind of fill them in. And as long as they are kind of intertwined, those birds I'm going to end up cutting up and putting throughout just to fill in blanks. I think this one could fit. That's kind of like the biggest I could go. I liked the cat and maybe that deer. Sorry for the glare. Maybe the bow and arrow, I'm not sure. Some of these look like alien abduction things. I like most of them on here. And I'm going to tell you, it'll stress me out to try to plan everything in advance. I'm going to pick a couple big pieces as the anchoring pieces. Maybe this butterfly or the bee. And then I'm just going to kind of fill them all in. I don't know. I just kept reminding myself through this process, this doll was free. This doll was free. This doll was free. And her leg was not salvageable. To keep her free, this is an option. Oh, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but this was a free option for me because I had an Amazon gift card from someone. So I think this came out to like $8 and change. And then I applied my gift card. So my total was nothing. All right. So obviously, I have a lot to choose from. And I'm going to try to cover this whole part because whether you can see it or not, it was bizarrely discolored. And then I need something over here because she's got this pink mark. And I'm thinking maybe I'll put something behind the ear or on the back of the neck. I'm not sure. You won't usually, I don't think you'll be able to see that. So I may or may not do it. But yeah, here we go. This is going to be the first one that I put on. Going to go with upper thigh. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing because I can tell you right now, it took me probably a couple of hours just to do all the tattoos. But just so you get the sense of it, I'll do a couple or at least one. All right, so I'm going to speed this part up just, to 1.5 because it takes a while to line things up and there's a lot of hemming and hawing and counting to 20 while you wait for everything to transfer. Like watching grass grow. That's probably part of why it took so long. Part of it is like figuring out the placement and then, cutting the things. But a big part of it is just this, just waiting for everything to be ready to transfer. Whoops, and I didn't wait long enough, or I didn't press hard enough over there. Very, very shiny. So there's going to be a step to follow this to address all that shine and the fact that you can see the edges of everything, like the little transfer edges. But yeah, already I was like, okay, this is fun. I'm excited. I'm pumped about this. So again, I'm going to go all the way down here and I'll just show you. This is covering up the pink mark. I mean, it's mostly covering up the pink mark. I gave her a little finger tattoo. And then this side has something. And dun 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 dun. Here is her giant full leg, covering up all the discoloration pretty darn well. And this is dry, by the way. All of this shine is just from the tattoo itself, which I think I could work with in lighting without doing anything to seal it. I think I could, I could work with that, but it also wouldn't be sealed. So I needed to use Mr. Super Clear. I was so nervous about using this stuff. We've had it for probably probably 3 years, and I've never used it. I've always been nervous about using it because I've seen people go heavy on it. It's just like spray paint. Like if you spray too close to whatever you're painting or for too long, then it kind of puddles and runs and it's a mess and you can't really undo it very easily. So that was my fear. But I just got a mask because this stuff is supposedly really, really strong. So we had a respirator already and I went outside and was doing this at probably like 11:30 at night, but I opened our garage door and I turned the garage light on and I stood outside of the garage just using the light from it. Also, I wanted to make sure that none of her body was nothing that shouldn't be sealed, got the stuff on it. So she's wrapped up and taped up in lots of plastic bags. And I want to show you what I did was 10 to 12 inches away, light, quick coats over everything. Wait, wait, wait. Do it again. Wait, wait, wait. Do it again. Like very thin coats because I could always layer it on. I didn't want to risk being too close to it or getting it too thick and having it run or be permanently shiny or anything. And I'll show up still so you can see the difference. Okay, so here is a really good example. On the top one, you're seeing it actually dried off, but just shiny before the sealant. And then beneath that is no enhancements at all. That's just a picture I took, and then I edited out the background. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So then the next step, I put on the wig, and the bangs were so, so long. So first of all, this is the wig I picked. And in this picture, I have it pulled back. Like if I had lifted up those bangs, you would have seen the hairline from her previous wig. This is a different doll, obviously. But you would have seen that hairline really obviously because a lot of these after factory wigs, the bangs are just so long. So this was Grace's wig, and I wanted to cut the bangs, but it's her wig, so I needed to ask her. And she was like, "You can trim the bangs." And so I did. These are the scissors that I used. That is, if you're counting, the fourth pair of scissors to be featured in this video. But I wanted some very good quality scissors that were tiny. And here is something I wanted to point out because I didn't take a good before picture of just how long these bangs are if you place the wig on properly and then don't cut the bangs. But if you see on the left side of her eye there, or our left, how long those hairs are. That's how much I cut. This wig would have been like bangs down to her nose. Ridiculous. I don't know why they do this. I really don't understand. I guess so you can trim it to your desired length, but most people want a ready-made wig or like ready to wear wig. So here's how short I cut it. Still nothing crazy, nothing drastic. I think that this just looks good. All right, next, Grace said, and that wig was advertised as a straight haired wig, and it's not. And I've never used it because I said, I'm never going to use it because the bangs are too long. So if you let me cut it, we can get some use out of it. And she said, well, I never use it because it was advertised as straight and it's not. So I said, well, do you want me to straighten it? She said, yeah, because this is what it looked like, which obviously is not straight. And so I got my flat iron out. It's a miniature one that I use just for straightening doll wigs when I need to. And I started with it on 250 degrees because that's the lowest setting. Um, and that's what I always do on AG factory wigs. But yeah, I I tried doing this, just some water, small sections, thoroughly wet the hair. In case you've never seen this, again, skip ahead a minute or two. If you don't care about the hair straightening part, I'm including all of the steps of this doll's customization. And I usually keep it on the lowest heat setting, work in small sections that are fully wet, and move quickly down the hair shaft or down the hair section. I was noticing, you can see it there, it curled right back up. Because this wig is not brand and it was more heat resistant, I ended up having to turn up the heat. And I tried to do that in increments because I didn't want to risk burning it. And I did test a little section in the back, like kind of underneath, just in case I did overshoot and turned it up too high, it wouldn't be ruining something right here at the front. But I didn't ruin anything. It turned out fine. I just, like I said, went incrementally up in heat, and I think I ended up at 350 instead of 250 on this one. I think that whole section of video you were watching was me still at 250, so it wasn't really working, but it did, obviously, because now you can see the hair is straight and considerably longer. I did trim just a couple hairs off the end that were kind of loose and had gotten pulled, but for the most part, I just left it. And then pierce her ears. So 7 down. How many more to go? I started with the 5/64ths, and I'll just tell you right now, I ended up moving to the 3/32. Is that what that said? Anyway, the next one up from where I started. So I don't always do this, but it's not a bad idea, and I decided to do it especially because of the angle and me trying to do this on film. I was kind of worried that I wasn't going to have like the best leverage. So I pre-did her earrings. I do the AG size for bottom posts. If I do additional earrings at the top, then I do them just with a push pin. Or if like I pierce their nose, then obviously I just do it with a push pin. But for these, I use AG posts. And I was like, oh, that's tiny. That's definitely tiny. Let me do it again. Same drill bit. Like I said, I do this a lot, but not frequently enough to always remember what drill bit size I used. So yeah, I was like, let me grab the earring and see, and instantly knew, no, that's not going in. So I switched the drill bit to a larger one. And I find this easier if I have the doll laying in my lap or like sitting down on the table than doing it like this with her vertical. But I was trying to do it for the camera, taking one for the team. Now that's starting to look like a regular earring size. There we go. There we go. And I will do the other side and then show you the end result. There we go. Earrings done. She's looking cute. Next, I wanted to give her a little bit of blush. And I am speeding up this to double time. I just don't think it's that complicated or fascinating. I have some pastel chalks. Figure out the color that you want to use. I'm just going really easy here. Scrape some off into my hand. Put it on with my pinky or with my finger. Like, I just wanted a little bit of color. I was not stressed about this at all. I do not do the red nose and red cheeks and everything that I know some customizers do and some customers love, but it's not my look. So I was going so subtle on here that you wouldn't even really notice it. Okay, next, painting her lips and adding a beauty mark. Now here, instead of pastel chalks, I got out my watercolor pencils. You could also use acrylic paint, but I really like these watercolor pencils. Most of the colors I don't use. I wish I could just, probably just buy them individually, but I'm going for black, which also makes me nervous because I often wonder if I'm gonna like have streaky looking lips on the dolls, and it would be even more obvious if I mess it up if it's in black. But I am literally dipping the pencil in water on my hand. I have it, look over there. I have a lid that I'm not even using. I brought it over for this purpose and I'm not even using it because my hand's here. Who needs a lid? And I got a tiny, tiny tipped brush. And I try to make sure there's not a lot of excess water. Light kept turning off on me. I was like, did I not turn it on? The battery was dying on that light. All right, so here we are with a plug-in light. And immediately I'm like, oh, I messed it up. I messed it up. I don't know. It makes me so nervous. But again, this is like Mr. Super Clear. Several very thin coats is the best way to go. So here she is with the lip gloss. I did give her a little beauty mark. You can see there on the side. That wasn't planned. I just already had my tiny little brush and it was already in black. And I thought, what the heck, why not? So I gave her a little beauty mark. And she doesn't have her lip gloss on yet. We had to go somewhere, so I had to pause in this. But I have her left hand showing because I originally had tattoos all along the left leg and a couple on the right arm. And then she looked just kind of lopsided. So I decided to add some tattoos on both arms and a few tattoos on the other leg. So none of that is on camera, but you've already seen the process, so you don't really need to see it. Plus, it'll give you some surprise. All right, so we did what we needed to do during the day, and then we came back, and I was ready for lip gloss. I mean, as ready as I will ever be, right? It makes me nervous. All the things surrounding the lips make me nervous, but it needed to be done. So I'm using Liquitex Professional High Gloss Varnish. You could use Glossy Mod Podge or a gel medium. I just wanted something with gloss, and I liked the kind of a little bit more watery consistency of this. I felt like it was going to give me a good chance of things not looking streaky or having brush marks on it. And I know, super helpful that I'm doing this in the very bottom corner or not even on the screen. But all I can say is I was prioritizing doing it well and sometimes forgot about making sure I was doing it on camera. And I hope you can understand my priorities. I did 2 coats of this and was very pleased with how it turned out. Lip gloss turned out well. Next up is add a septum piercing. I've never done this before. And I know what I need: thumbtack, jump ring, some jewelry, pliers, and it's going to go right here. Grace had specifically asked if I would mind doing that because she is interested to see how it looks and how I do it, to see if she wants to do it for any of the other dolls. And since this was a little bit of a guinea pig, a no risk project. So I'm kind of straightening out both ends of this. It's going to be more like a J than a U, but that's okay because all that part is going to be shoved up in her nose anyway. And I already had this on hand, so those are dainty, so they make good jewelry. They're also flimsy, so they're kind of hard to push in. I find them not the easiest thing to work with, but maybe the best thing to work with for now. And I am trying to go in as close as possible on her septum. Um, Sometimes I see people do this piercing on their dolls, and I don't know if it's that the jump ring is too thick or that they kind of aim for the middle of the nostril, like the middle of that hole, but it just really does look like a bull ring, and it just looks too wide and too big to me, which, no guarantees that this won't also, but I'm trying to angle in a bit and go really in at the edge, the inner edge of the nose, like at the inner edge of the nostrils. I can English today. I swear I can. And I will tell you right now, you would not have been able to see me do this. You would have just been watching that for quite some time. So I paused the video and I shoved that thing in off screen because it took some maneuvering. And I apologize for that, but there was just no way for me to get it on camera. All right, and here is what she looks like. Oh my gosh. She's so cute. And here's a close up of some of the tattoos that I added that I maybe didn't show. Remember, I said her left arm and right leg. I ended up going back and adding some tattoos. I even put a cat tattoo on her. This doll just really like, as soon as I knew what I wanted to do, her personality like just showed up and knocked at the door and was like, "Yep, here are my interests, and I'll talk to you briefly about them in a minute. Here are my interests, here's what I do, here's who I am, here's my name." And I was like, "Oh, okay. This does not usually happen for me, but I'll just make notes of all this." She's staying with me. I This is the only way a Felicity is going to be living in our home. But yeah, this was a total surprise. How well it turned out, the fact that I want her as in my collection as much as I do, who knew? Who knew? Not me. So 14 different things that I did, aside from just like cleaning her up. And here she is with two of her hobbies. I mean, the tattoos probably told you, but this girly has plenty of crystals. She knows all of her what house is in whatever and all kinds of things about astrology that I don't know, and she probably considers it vital information about those she does know and is puzzled that we don't all know the, astrology stuff that she does. She's so stinking cute. I love Felicity's eyes with this wig. You know, I usually hate those eyes, but they just work. So here is Miss Kenzie Calliope Walker. Kenzie is because as I was driving to pick up groceries, I was thinking about how we already have a doll named Bo who kind of resembles or reminds us of Bo from the Canadian television show Lost Girl. And her best friend is Kenzie. And Kenzie has blue eyes. The actress has blue eyes, and this doll obviously has electric green. But other than that, like if you've watched the show, you know that you can. I'm sure you're going, yeah, no, I totally get that. I get why she named her Kenzie. Calliope, we started watching the Spiderwick Chronicles TV series yesterday, and there's a character named Calliope, and just as soon as that they said the name, I was like, oh yeah, I really do like that name. Kenzie Calliope actually sounds good together. And Walker, literally just as I was editing this video, came to me, and I tried to consider other things, so I wasn't making a snap judgment. And no, my brain's like, no, it is Kenzie Calliope Walker. That's her name. Stop arguing. Okay. She likes felting and obviously crystals and astrology. She likes animals, pretty much everyone. She's got a fox and a cat tattooed on her, maybe also a butterfly, but really anything. She likes animals, full stop. She's into music, surprisingly diverse musical tastes. So whatever you'd assume would be like her top bands, she's definitely more than that. She likes drawing. She reads a lot. Fantasy, some poetry, which is totally not me, but she does read and write a little poetry. And has some favorite TV shows. I don't know. I think that I'm just going to keep on taking notes about her personality because, like I said, she came with the personality and the name ready to go, and I never predicted this, but I'm so smitten with her. Let me know what you think. She's going to stand out from all of the rest of my dolls because none of them look like this at all. But yeah, here's my custom Felicity. And thank you, thank you, thank you to Dawn who sent me this doll. Dawn, I never expected to be keeping her, but I hope that you like this complete and radical transformation that she's had. All right, I will be back soon with another video. I'm going to go ahead and link a playlist about doll customization and care and restoration on one side of the screen, and then I will let the YouTube algorithm pick a video just for you on the other side of the screen. So feel free to binge watch, and I'll be back within a week. Take care. Bye.